You wouldn't believe the scene at the airport, a police dog barking furiously at a pregnant belly. His handler, just as baffled as I was, decided I should be taken to the airport's on-call doctor. As I waited nervously, the chaos of the moment played over and over in my mind. Dr. James's office was bright and sterile, a sharp contrast to my spiraling thoughts. The nerves rattled in my chest, echoing the dog's frantic bark. The doctor was calm, focused, studying me and my medical file. Jeffrey, the officer, had followed me into the office. His steady presence had become unexpectedly comforting. He stood nearby, watchful and alert, prepared for anything. Dr. James flipped through my file carefully. After a long moment, he called in a nurse to run some additional checks. My heart raced, breaths shallow, and every sound in the room seemed amplified by anxiety. Even with the doctor's calm demeanor and the nurse's quiet movements, the image of the dog's wild barking wouldn't leave me. It felt like the animal had sensed something serious, something even the tests hadn't yet uncovered. But before we continue, smash the like button, subscribe and ring the notifications bell so you never miss our upcoming stories. Back in the waiting room, the memory refused to fade. The dog's eyes, so desperate and focused, played over in my mind like a warning no one could yet explain. Sweat prickled on my skin. Could it have been a fluke? But dogs had instincts, didn't they? I sat beside Jeffrey, who waited patiently while I tried to focus on a magazine that now felt meaningless in my hands. Dr. James later returned, calm and focused, offering reassurances about common symptoms. The familiar explanations gave slight comfort, though the unease lingered just beneath the surface. Outside the office, whispers spread quickly. The incident with the police dog had stirred more curiosity than a celebrity sighting. Rumors swirled. Smuggling, disease, something strange. None of it helpful. Jeffrey and I shared a glance, both bemused and weary. As if on cue, an old college friend, Lisa, appeared. Her presence brought unexpected relief. With Lisa beside me, our conversation drifted into light chatter, a brief escape from my restless thought. The waiting room buzzed with low voices and the quiet tension of uncertainty. Sharing bits of my pregnancy journey brought temporary comfort. Eventually, Dr. James returned and called me back. Jeffrey joined me, steady as ever, as I followed the doctor with my heart pounding. In his office, Dr. James explained that more assessments were needed, speaking with calm clarity. I nodded, bracing myself, feeling the weight of uncertainty settle again. Just then, my phone buzzed. It was Matt. His voice was a welcome comfort amid the chaos. I kept my response vague, not wanting to alarm him. For now, I needed to stay grounded, holding steady through the unknown ahead. Matt's laughter on the phone brought a moment of calm, easing the pressure that had been building all day. We drifted into lighter talk, tossing around baby names. He leaned toward family traditions while I gravitated to something new. As we talked, I felt a soft flutter from the baby, a gentle reminder that life was moving forward despite the strange and unsettling circumstances. Sitting in the waiting room, I rested a hand on my belly, savoring the moment. Jeffrey, nearby, noticed my expression and offered a comforting presence without saying a word. To lighten the mood, Jeffrey began sharing stories from his time on the job. As I listened, I found myself laughing, letting go of the anxiety for a little while. His stories didn't solve anything, but they wrapped my worry in something softer, offering space to breathe as we waited for the next round of answers. Time dragged heavily as I shifted in my seat, the second stretching unbearably thin. My eyes kept drifting to the office door, willing it to open with news that might ease the tightening knot in my chest. Jeffrey remained nearby, his calm presence a quiet reassurance. The tension between us was unspoken, shared and understood without words. I tried to distract myself, but even the thought of playing a mental game couldn't hold my attention. Finally, Dr. James stepped in, his face marked by concern. A nurse followed, her presence grounding. He held a thin sheet of results, his demeanor shifting the atmosphere instantly. The air seemed to thicken as he explained the need for more thorough imaging. Though he tried to keep his tone even, the weight of uncertainty hung between every word. I could feel my pulse rise, the implications sinking in. Jeffrey offered an encouraging smile, and Dr. James spoke with cautious optimism. His reassurance lingered like a quiet promise. Though uncertainty remained, a fragile calm settled. The nurse led me toward the imaging center, our footsteps soft against the linoleum. The corridor felt colder, more clinical. I glanced back toward Jeffrey, his steady presence a small anchor in the unease. Inside the imaging room, the low hum of the machine filled the silence. I focused on my breathing, inhale, exhale, trying to drown out the growing tension. The rhythm of the machinery was oddly comforting, a mechanical lullaby in a sterile space. The technician watched the screen carefully, his face unreadable. I lay still, mind racing, willing myself not to overanalyze every shadow on the screen. The cold, the noise, the stillness, it all felt surreal. When the session ended, I returned to the waiting area, the air thick with unanswered questions. Jeffrey and I sat quietly, reflecting on the bizarre trigger, the police dog. It was comforting to share the confusion, to know I wasn't alone in finding the event strange. He mentioned dogs' uncanny instincts, how they often sensed things people couldn't. It didn't offer a clear answer, but the idea stuck with me, a small thread of meaning in an increasingly mysterious day. The conversation gradually shifted to lighter topics: family, baby names, nursery colors. A message from Matt lit up my phone, his concern evident in just a few words. The weight of the day pressed in again. I hesitated, then typed a careful reply, choosing calm over truth, hoping a simple message would offer him peace even if I had none. Jeffrey offered a quiet look of understanding. It was a small moment, but it meant something. Back in Dr. James's office, the atmosphere was heavy with expectation. He sat across from us, preparing to speak. I twisted my fingers together unconsciously, trying to hold on to a thread of calm. Jeffrey's steady presence beside me was a quiet anchor as we braced for whatever came next. I glanced at him, grateful for the unlikely friendship that had formed in such strange circumstances. Dr. James remained focused, poring over the scan, results in a silence that felt almost sacred. Each tick of the clock matched the pounding of my heart. We were all waiting for answers, for clarity, for something solid in the sea of unknowns. Finally, Dr. James began, his words measured and careful. There were findings, but uncertainty clouded them. Something on the scan wasn't clear, an anomaly he couldn't yet define. The weight of agreeing to more tests settled heavily on my chest. It felt like stepping into deeper waters, unsure of what lay beneath. Later, when we returned, Dr. James pointed out a shadow on the scan, something near the baby. The seriousness in his eyes said it all. This was no longer routine. My heart sank. Shadows weren't supposed to be there. Dr. James's words echoed, vague and heavy. Even he, always composed, seemed uncertain. The room felt colder, quieter, like we'd stepped into uncharted territory. Jeffrey moved closer, his concern etched clearly on his face. Though he tried to reassure me, I could see the weight of it pressing on him too. The term shadow lingered in my mind, slippery and ominous, refusing to settle into clarity. I tried to focus, to breathe, clinging to Jeffrey's calm presence. Dr. James spoke again, outlining the next step, more advanced imaging to learn exactly what we were dealing with. Determined to face it head-on, I nodded. We needed answers and I was ready to get them. Dr. James made the call to bring in a specialist, someone who could review everything with a more experienced eye. As we waited, the uncertainty thickened, but I knew we were doing everything possible. I watched with bated breath, hanging on to the hope this new expert would provide some clarity. Jeffrey stayed by my side, quietly supportive through each uncertain minute, helping to anchor my growing anxiety. The specialist arrived, his presence introducing a fresh wave of medical jargon that made my head spin. Medical terms blurred into a wall of confusion, their complexity overwhelming. The doctors patiently rephrased, slowly untangling the meaning until fragments began to make sense. Though some clarity surfaced, unease clung to the edges of every word. Attention shifted to potential risks. The shadow's placement required close monitoring, and the gravity of the situation began to settle in. With more tests recommended, the day continued to unfold in layers of uncertainty. The unknown expanded, and each explanation added to the growing strain. Despite it all, The next steps were clear, if daunting. As the specialist prepared further scans, the screen filled with unfamiliar shapes and measurements. The words continued, dense and technical. Though the answers remained out of reach, the support around me formed a fragile sense of stability, enough to take the next step forward. The promise of helpful tests brought a sliver of comfort, and Dr. James's calm demeanor was a steadying force. I took a deep breath and told myself this was just a bump in the road, though the hollow unease in my stomach whispered otherwise. Strength wasn't optional anymore. With Jeffrey's steady presence beside me, I gathered the courage to move forward. The day unfolded like a blur. Procedures, instructions, murmurs from behind screens. Everything spun so quickly, it felt like I was watching my life from the outside. The hospital buzzed with purposeful motion. Nurses and doctors moved with silent precision, their care carving small islands of calm into the chaos. Despite the looming unknown, their quiet dedication offered me a fragile sense of reassurance. I sent Matt occasional updates, careful with my wording to keep things light and hopeful. Each message felt like a lifeline, a way to tie myself back to something real. His replies were short but full of love, tiny anchors that kept me from drifting too far into fear. Whenever my thoughts started to spiral, I'd look at Jeffrey. His quiet support reminded me that I wasn't navigating this alone. During a quiet moment, my phone buzzed. It was a voicemail from Mom. I listened, her warm voice wrapping around me like a hug. As lunch rolled around, Jeffrey offered to share what he'd brought. We let the conversation drift to lighter things, childhood stories, favorite meals, old TV shows. For a little while, it felt like we were just two people sharing a moment, not sitting in the middle of medical unknowns. Our laughter filled the space, brief but bright, cutting through the weight of the day. That simple joy felt almost rebellious, as though we'd carved out a pocket of light inside a heavy moment. Later, after another doctor's visit, I sat in silence, trying to process everything. Jeffrey stayed beside me, grounding me with his calm presence. I let his quiet reassurance settle in. The day had stretched endlessly, but there was still more to face. When Dr. James called us back, his expression was serious, measured. The air thickened with expectation. I felt the weight of the moment, but also the steady presence of support beside me. One step at a time, silence filled the room, stretching unbearably long. My heart pounded, every pause amplifying the tension. Dr. James prepared to speak, and each second felt heavier than the last. Beside me, Jeffrey remained steady, a calm presence in the mounting storm. I knew that whatever was coming, we'd face it together. The door opened, and the medical team entered with solemn expressions. I braced myself, caught between hope and dread. Dr. James began with careful words, measured but carrying a hint of optimism. The air shifted slightly. We were closer to understanding the shadow, even if the answers weren't easy. Though his tone was cautious, that thread of hope wrapped around me like a lifeline. The doctors' faces softened, preparing us, but also reassuring. Then came the diagnosis, a rare tumor impacting both me and my unborn child. Urgency replaced the stillness. Though fear surged, so did resolve. The weight of it all hit hard. The shock slowly gave way to determination. This was the challenge, and I would face it with everyone beside me, my team, my family, my friends. Emotions swirled. Fear, sadness, courage. I held tightly to the support around me, refusing to let go of hope. Dr. James laid out the next steps, his voice focused and firm. Swift action was necessary. The path ahead was uncertain, but it was clear we were going to move forward, together. His words shaped the road ahead, and I nodded, accepting the plan with quiet resolve. Jeffrey's encouraging glance mirrored the determination growing inside me. I was ready for this fight. The room pulsed with a sense of unity. Doctors, nurses, and Jeffrey, each of them stood firmly in my corner. Their shared focus became a cocoon of support, wrapping around me. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed the story, please don't forget to leave a like, subscribe, and ring the notifications bell so you never miss amazing tales like this one.